Alright, hey guys. I wanted to make a video basically going over a couple different things that I've been thinking about recently with Winston, so I'll just go right into it. So there's a couple different specific like keynotes that I kind of have. It's like how he's played, changes in style, strengths, weaknesses, so it's very general, but I think the thing I've noticed the most especially is like the way he's been changing his style from like patch to patch. So I'll go over I guess I'll say, for instance, Tracer versus Sombra meta. You'd think he'd play like a specific role where it'd be like Tracer, Sombra, and him would always dive things together, but there was very specific instances where Lucio and Moira would be left alone if him and Diva were to play too aggressively. So it felt like it was more of like a 4-2 split. So it was like the tanks and supports would always just walk around with each other. And like maybe they would potentially walk at the enemy, but sometimes they would kite together. But they would be like more of like the peelers. And so it was a little bit different because you didn't need that flank damage because Sombra and Tracer could kill things so efficiently together. So it was almost like they walk as like a 4-man unit. So like he only dives sometimes, and the diva plays much more passively. And then I'd say in like other instances, it was like the Winston would play like very aggressively. For instance, versus goats. So in goats, he would jump into positions where he could get a lot of cleave. He would potentially jump on a support after it's been hit with like a rocket or a sniper shot and they're low already, so he's looking to clean them up. He's looking to like stand in areas where the ghost is looking to rotate, and so he'd be getting a lot of cleave. There's instances versus 3 tanks, where 3 tanks and 1 mercy, so you'd be playing dive if you were playing on a Winston, and you would play differently in the fact that your shield would get killed very, very quickly because there's potentially a Hanzo, a Diva, a Junkrat, and even a Roadhog playing against you. So your bubbles don't last very long. So if you were to jump into an area and place your bubble down, it could potentially be broken in a second or less. So there was a lot more planning and a lot more suiciding as the Winston to kill the Mercy and hoping that that trade was going to be beneficial for you so that you would trade potentially your main tank for their main support. You would end up out sustaining them and win the fight overall. Versus like double sniper and like this Brig sort of meta, Winston was a lot of I need to occupy their snipers, give our snipers the best chance. So if you end up having your Winston sitting on their Widow and your Widow goes uncontested in the fight and your Winston kind of dives on like a support or something and they live, but that Widow ends up getting occupied, you have the chance that you now have had your Widow for a longer uncontested time than theirs has, so you have a chance to land more shots and win the fight that way. So it was very weird in the fact that it was like snipers were kind of getting dove and sometimes killed, like if the Winston was jumping and like your Widow was then able to take the shot on her, but it was a lot of like sometimes your tanks would just jump their snipers because you had to, otherwise you would lose the fight, and it wasn't necessarily we were going to kill them. Then Brig added in this weird thing, so it was like if you were running like Brig Widow or Brig Hanzo or something, and then the other team was running like 2 snipers, then you would like armor pack your Winston, and then they would be like no kill pressure at all, and then you would just hope that like your 3-man support and sniper would beat out their 2 tanks while you and your diva would dive their snipers and then outlive while your supports aren't going to die. So it was like very weird things like that where it's like each in each specific meta, Winston was doing something different and something weird where change one hero in a composition, change how he's played in that situation, and it like completely changed the meta because then like the other Winston or like the other tank is like forced to play differently. So it's just things like that that just made it very strange, and like hero picks changed how Winston was played because it also changed how like what supports were played sometimes. So for example, I'd say like on assault on defense for season 1 and probably a bit of season 2, there was like a lot of Ana Zen being played on like Lunar Colony, Hanamura, where you wouldn't play that stuff on offense, although maybe 2 teams did, but like it was majority like most teams played that on defense, and so you'd have to play a different style where you don't have that Mercy playing with you, where you want to be playing in a room where you were giving room for your Ana, so you're playing more aggressively, stuffing chokes actively, taking more damage, but you're allowing your Ana to get free heals onto you. So we're kind of fading back into that now because Ana is becoming more meta again, but you're also playing it differently in the fact that Nano's been boosted. So Nano is now stronger. So you're trying to build it up and then feed it to your monkey so your monkey can play even that much more aggressively. Where before it was like he can't really play aggressively because he'll only get like Diva Pocket and then potentially Mercy Zen, where now he can get like an anti or just a nade and a pocket, Zen pocket, and he can be getting like a lot of HP. But at the same time, things like Doomfist, Sombra are very strong, and there's potentially even like a Brig and an Ana. So there's a lot of cooldowns that can be used to really stuff him and stop him from like playing as aggressively. So there's this style now where it's like how he's played is he kind of jumps into locations to like buy attention, which is kind of like how he did it in the sniper meta somewhat, where he if he jumps onto a support and then he just gets Doomfist punched or hacked, then he's not actually going to get away and he's going to die, where he actually ended up diving. So there's situations where he's actually not able to do what he wants to do, but he has to like get information from others. So there would be like a Sombra feeding information being like, yes, you can dive here and we'll dive with you. And where before it was basically just like, you see the play in your own head. You're like, I'm just going to dive here to give space for my team. But now it's a lot of your team giving space for you. You're very reliant on your team. You're reliant on what the other team has. So if they have like a ton of cooldowns to really shut you down, you can't really dive in on your own anymore, because you're going to dive in and you're going to be pretty much CC'd for your entire life and you're just going to end up dying. So that's what kind of plays into his strengths and weaknesses. I've gone over that slightly, but his ability to close space from long range, his ability to hide and then basically be a complete threat instantly and stay on you for a while is very strong. His ability to play vertically is very strong. He is only probably seconded to this by like Pharah maybe, or Mercy or something like that, but he's able to play vertical space a lot. He's able to jump up, really control areas in the sky. Maybe D.Va's up there with him too, but his ability to hide in areas and then become a threat where you really have to scout him out. If you do scout him out, it does become a weakness because he's very short range. Jumps can be interrupted. He's like kind of unable, I'd say now, to like be played without proper team play, which works in both facts, where if your team has proper team play, he's not going to kill anyone. If you have like the proper heals, you're doing it at the proper times, and if he doesn't have the correct follow-up, he won't be able to kill anything on his own because he doesn't have enough damage without Primal Rage. So you can kind of be stuck in these situations where Winston's can look more poor on teams that don't have proper communication. So like information isn't being fed to him. There isn't the amount of follow-up that he needs being fed to him. So like he dives in and he needs help from someone and he's calling for it, and that person doesn't recognize that or wasn't able to communicate that. So he ends up looking like a bad player because he dove where he was expecting that backup. There's things like the short range and the jumps being interrupted. So maybe he's looking for a play, he's looking for a flank. He gets stunned midway through his jump, so he's just going to be killed because he can't really get away. Where there's other heroes that are very flanky, like Sombra Tracer, Doomfist, that have multiple cooldowns, can use different tools to get away, where he's kind of just unable to do that. But he's still filling that same role where you need to be playing kind of flankerish, using high ground, looking to drop down on people when you can and when you have the advantage to kind of snowball your advantage. So that's just kind of like a breakdown of Winston. Didn't want to go like mega in depth and like give like a ton of strategy things, but I wanted to just basically give a breakdown of how his roles somewhat changed over this meta and how it's probably going to change in the future as like more things get figured out and more heroes are coming into the meta. His role really changes depending on what's in the meta.